6. My daughters were out of the house, and I kind of went into this midlife crisis, like, what am I going to do with my life? And I'd always wanted to travel. I had, like, I think when I was about 8 or 10 years old, I had told my church I wanted to be a missionary. You know, I wanted to just go out and save the world, you know, from the time I was that big. You know, I had that idea, you know. And so it's kind of funny, I met this guy at like, right after I was like, you know, really feeling like depressed, like I'm going to shrivel up and become a bitter, resentful woman if I don't figure out what is coming next in my life. And met this guy at a music festival, and he said he travels the world by bicycle. And I said, oh, I've always wanted to travel the world, but I can't afford it. And he said, if you want to travel the world, it's not money that's stopping you. And I was like, what a jerk. You know, what do you mean? You know, that's easy for you to say, Mr. Not a Single Mother. You know, right? Well, so 8 months later, well, about a year later, I found myself on the road with him. I didn't stay in touch with him, but it just kept going around in my head, and I was just getting more and more depressed, and I just knew I had to do it. And so I called him up and said, hey, remember me? Can I still go on? He said I could go on this bike trip with him. So we ended up in South Africa. And so the next slide is, so this was my bicycle.
You got there by bicycle?
Yeah, right across the ocean. You know, I had this little pedals, you know, it was a really cool bicycle. Yeah. No, but just if anybody wants to know, South African Airlines will take your bike for free because it's considered sporting equipment. So, so I flew to South Africa with my bicycle. I did get to the airport and literally took the bike apart, or took the bike out of the box and put it back together in the airport and rode out of the airport. So, yeah, so that was pretty fun. And, okay, so the next slide. Yeah, so I just threw, you know, as you can imagine, I ended up, I originally went for 3 months. I said I was going to go for 3 months, and at the end of 3 months, well, I just kept going, you know, and the next thing I know, the whole trip ended up 11 months. I didn't come home till the following September 2012. Yeah, so, you know, I literally have tens of thousands of pictures. So I just put some of my favorites up. The elephants were, I just loved the elephants so much. They were, part of my favorites. And the next slide. And like I said, I had always had this idea about being a missionary or something like that. But I became very disillusioned with the church, you know, as a teenager, and I kind of, so I decided, you know, that this bike tour, I wanted to try to raise money and do something good while I was there. And I wanted to find an actual Ugandan nonprofit to work with, because I wanted to work with somebody there, not like a big international thing coming down. And so I eventually ran into this nonprofit called African Friends. It's actually called African Friends Service Committee. So it sounds almost exactly like the Quaker organization here, but they're not affiliated. This is actually a Ugandan, and so I ended up raising a few $1,000s and building 4 classrooms. It's so cheap to buy classrooms there. To buy classrooms, wait, what am I saying? To build things there. You know, of course, our money, one of my really fun things was going to the bank and trying to get $2,000 out, and they had to go get the bank manager, and he's like, "You want to take out how much?" You know, and it's over 1 million shillings in there, you know, so it was really fun. I felt like so like have to go in the back of the bank with the manager and all these keys and to get so okay, and the next, so once I met this village, so we went to this village, and this is the once I met this once I got involved with African Friends Service Committee. They already had a village that they were going to propose, and so we went and had this junta kind of with a big circle about like this of all of these villagers, and this elder woman came crawling on her knees. She went like this across the thing to me and came and put her hand on my chest like that. And so I didn't really know what to do except for do it back, right? So that was that moment. Yeah, just amazing experiences. Okay, so after I know that's kind of quick on Africa, but so after I got back from Africa, and I'm still, you know, wanting to work for peace, in 2015, I started that was my 50th birthday, and I decided, you know, I'm just gonna make it a thing, you know, I'm dedicating my life to working for peace. And so I started this, I called it the Peace is Possible bike tour. Started in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, and rode to Bloomington, Indiana. And then that's where I found the Veterans for Peace, or they found me, and they sponsored me. They picked me and my bike up, shipped me to California, pick up the bike, put it together in the airport, and ride it out again. And so I was so fortunate. I had never heard of the Golden Rule. Has anybody here? You've heard of it? Has anybody else heard of the Golden Rule? Okay, so a couple, you guys haven't. Okay, so the Golden Rule was the first peace boat. It was bought in about 1958 by some Quakers, and these are the 4 original crew members who their purpose was to sail out into the Pacific and disrupt the nuclear tests going on in the Marshall Islands. And so you can, the next slide. So they were amazing. Yeah, can you see? I don't know, in front. Very brave, very brave. You know, it looks kind of like a big boat. This boat, the Golden Rule, is 34 feet long. I doubt that it's probably not as long as this room, I don't think. 34 feet? I don't know. Anyway, it's a very small boat. It's a very small boat to cross the ocean, and it's a very small boat to be dodging in front of naval warships that they did. Okay, and next slide. Yeah. So there were, of course, the Golden Rule crew was arrested in Honolulu, and there were a lot of protests, but they got what they wanted. Basically, they got worldwide attention, and that boat ended up being the predecessor to the Sea Shepherd, and I'm blanking on what to say, Sierra Club, not Sierra Club.
Greenpeace.
Thank you, Greenpeace, yes. Okay, next slide. Oh yeah. So the Golden Rule ended up, they sold it after they did that action, and it went into private, hands, and eventually ended up in Eureka, California, on the bottom of a river. It got bashed, unwatched, it wasn't watched, and it got bashed against a pier and sunk. And so Veterans for Peace bought it in, I don't know what year, what was that, 2016 maybe-ish?
Maybe.
Something like, no, it had to be 15 because my tour was in 15. So it had to be 14, 13, I don't know. Anyway, so this boat was completely destroyed, had big holes gashed in the side and all of that. And, Veterans for Peace has spent, untold amounts of time and money. And she's sailing again. Now she's sailing. I think she might be in Honolulu right now. And so I went out there and I worked for 6 weeks, helping to rebuild the Golden Rule. And then I was so fortunate to be there when she set sail. I think the next slide, please. Yeah, literally picked her up with a crane. This is just such a cool thing to see, this sailboat swinging through the air and kind of moving over. And the next slide. The day that this was one of the original crew members who, and this was the daughter of one of the original crew members. And this was my friend Nelson, who is the crew, he was one of the current crew members. And there she is, that's, she just got set in the water there for the first time in 50 years or so. So, okay, next slide. Yeah, beautiful red sails that, very eye-catching. And that's right in the Golden Gate Bridge at San Francisco Bay. Yeah. Okay, next slide. Yeah. Oh yeah, be the change you wish to see in the world. That's, I think we are all doing that, aren't we? Those of us who are here. God, and I love being in a room full of those people who are, really this whole tour idea is just a shallow excuse for me to go around and meet people who give me hope, right? So there's a song about the Golden Rule. So I'll do this song here for you. Ironically, written by a guy named Mike Stern. Actually, can you back it up? Let's leave the Golden Rule on while I'm doing the song. Oh, maybe. Oh, there we go, yeah. I didn't know when we set sail in 58 we'd all end up in jail. And I've been called worse than fool for sailing on the Golden Rule. From San Pedro we headed west on the waves of a peaceful protest. Set our sails to the wind and prayed the bomb would not be used again. The Golden Rule, words we all learned in Sunday school. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Met the Phoenix crew about halfway through. Both our ships moored in Honolulu. We agreed to do our best to try stop the nuclear test. Neither ship did give way to the trials that kept us at bay. But we made it just partway through. So now the rest is up to you. It's up to me. It's up to you to do unto as you would have them do. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Do as I've, started kind of putting all this together and thinking about a peace tour and all of this, I've found some really important, very hopeful research and things that I'm just dying to tell you about. So that's what I'm going to jump into now. So the first thing that actually really gives me hope is the fact that 193 nations have already signed the UN peace treaty saying that war is not to be used as an instrument of national policy. I'm curious how many of you guys know that already? Or is that new information? Okay, a couple. I'm so shocked. You know when when war was made illegal? 1928. And so now, I think what we need to do is get our countries to follow what they already signed. And another hopeful thing is of those 193 countries, there's only a few at the very top, the US, Russia, China, usual, who are really propagating this huge militarism. And so, it's kind of easier for me to start thinking about these just big bullies on the block, and we just have to stop tolerating them. And I think that people will stop tolerating them when they believe that there is a reason to hope for peace. Because right now, seems to me, most people, if I start talking about peace, it's just not possible. I mean, it's human nature. You're never going to get people to come together. Everybody's there, blah, blah, blah. And it's all pretty much negative, even sometimes from people that I would, that I think are like peace workers. They're like, I want to make it a little better, but not that I really believe that peace is possible. I found this research by a Harvard political science professor. This was on Hidden Brain podcast on March 21st. Are you guys familiar with Hidden Brain? It's a really great podcast. Anyway, this was Hidden Brain on March 21st. I highly recommend going to look it up because this Harvard professor talks for an hour about, and she also just wrote a book I want to find, about the nonviolent protests that have, and conflicts that have over the last 100 years. And she found, I'm just going to give it right to you, she found that, from 1928, when that peace pact was signed, to now, that there has been a steady increase in the viability of nonviolent movements. And in fact, at this time, violent movements are about 25% effective, are effective about 25% of the time. Nonviolent movements are effective, wait, did I say 50? I'm sorry, wait, she's 25% of the time. Nonviolent actions are effective 50% of the time. So twice as effective. Did I say that right? Yeah. Okay. I get lost in my own numbers. So not only are nonviolent revolutions or movements, twice as likely to succeed, they are getting more likely because the peace community is learning. And okay, the next slide now, please. Really started with Tolstoy, actually. Gandhi was very into Tolstoy. And a lot of Gandhi's, basis for his movement was from Tolstoy. And then Gandhi affected Martin Luther King. And so this, it really, Gandhi is, my eyes, sort of the father of the structure of nonviolence as it is out, as we're learning it. And so we as a peace community, as we're learning it, we're becoming more and more effective. So don't lose hope. We are doing it. We're learning and we're getting more effective. And so another interesting statistic that she found is that if you have 3.5% of a population active on your side, she said it's almost impossible for you to fail. She found that in the research, through all of these things, in the movements that have 3.5% of the population activated, they did not fail. And so in the United States, 3.5% of the population is 11 million. And so my new goal is to get 11 million people to stand up to the United States and tell them that we want them to abide by the peace treaty that we signed in 1928, like we said we were going to. Yes! You don't like to clap. Yes. So you guys can be the first 10, and each of you go out and get another million, and we're on our way, guys. Yeah. So, so this, I really find this to be helpful, or hopeful, and helpful information. Like, it's a specific number, 11 million people, and it seems to me like if people actually thought, like I talked to so many people, as I said, people who just kind of roll their eyes, oh yeah, sure, I'd love to have peace, but that's not possible. But if you can say, actually, if we get 11 million people, we have statistics that say that this actually is possible. Who knows? Maybe we can get 11 million people. We'll just let that resonate. I have to wait until it goes completely away, or I feel like I'm interrupting. So where does that leave us? Well, it leaves me wondering what you guys think, I certainly don't think I'm gonna, travel around